Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. No one would call such a hovel home if they can help it. Zimbabwe's rural people are the poorest of the poor. Many of them live in abject poverty. What some people don't understand is that the rural people are captives of the ruling Zanu PF regime. The picture we see there is of a rural dweller. And in the foreground is a note asking the viewer to write a composition of what he can see. And not to forget the chicken inn, referring to the practice during last year's election where Zanu PF bought those people who attended their rallies. Most of them were hired, coerced to attend those rallies. They each received a box of chicken and chips and a drink. And this, some people have taken to mean that the rural people support Zanu PF. This could be no further from the truth. The truth of the matter is, Zanu PF calls the rural areas strongholds because those people are captive. Zanu PF controls those people's lives in every respect, more so by denying them the right to own even 1 acre of land on which their mud hovel is built. It makes economic sense to say, give these people the title deeds to that piece of land. And when they can say it's mine, they know they can invest in looking after it, building a better structure for a home, dig a well, build toilets, plant fruit trees, because they know whatever improvements they make on it will only be adding value to that piece of land. And even if they should decide to move, they can sell it. If they should die there, they will leave their children and their grandchildren a decent home to live. This made economic sense before even independence. But Ian Smith rejected the idea because he wanted the blacks to stay poor. And to him, it made economic sense in the sense that the impoverished blacks would then go to the white-owned farms, factories, and towns to work for the little wages the employer would pay them. It also made political sense to Ian Smith because he knew that economically empowered blacks would want next political power as well. And so he had to keep a lead on it. And after independence, Zanu PF adopted the same dirty tactics to maintain their control on the people. This is so heartbreaking. Here is what Margaret Dongo, a Zanu PF steward in her heydays, said about Zanu PF and control of the rural people.
They have wrong priorities, especially the current government. How can you go and build an airport which services a few people, and the majority are the elite and the so-called investors? Look at the rural. I made you come to interview me because I wanted you to have the experience of the roads that we are using. If we go today to our hospital there, you feel pity with that's a hospital in a rural area. If we go to our clinic, you feel pity. We have no piped water here. Do you know the reason why the rural people vote for Zanu PF? One, they're intimidated. Two, the policy is that the rural people should remain poor and subservient to the government. They should remain poor because if they remain poor, they continue singing the song for their master. This is why these people have been impoverished. It's for a reason. Because at the moment, if you economic empower these people, they'll go out of hand. Zanu PF will never have control over them.
Of course, she is right. So we have got now millions of people being held captive by the regime. When you look at somebody like that, that is poverty. And if these people had access to improve themselves and they were failing to use it, that would be another argument. But when you're denying them any hope of self improvement, that cannot be right. Here is Professor Lumumba talking about that very issue of allowing people to live in dignity.
It is Julius Nyerere who in 1966 said that when we talk about development, we do not necessarily mean roads, although that constitutes development. We do not necessarily mean big buildings. We mean beyond that the development of the people themselves, their ability to feed themselves with dignity. But do we do that for our people? We don't. We don't. How much do we pay our health workers in many African countries? A pittance. How much do we pay our academics? A pittance. How much do we pay our researchers? A pittance. But how much do we pay our politicians? The whole world. And I'm saying this with pain, because until the day that Africa begins to think otherwise, we are going nowhere. Our so-called development will be undermined. And Africa has no shortage of declarations that we make. We make many declarations.
All very true and all very typical. The truth of the matter is that we are witnessing here modern day slavery, where those in power are deliberately keeping the ordinary person impoverished and beholden to them. It is ironic that whilst Mugabe and now Mnangagwa has allowed foreigners to own farms, mines, and so forth, as soon as they set foot in the country, the same individuals have stubbornly refused to let the ordinary Zimbabwean, particularly those in the rural area who have absolutely nothing, to own the one thing that would mean so much to them. Even that piece of land in the so-called arid region 4 and 5. Give them title deeds. Let's see if they can improve themselves. They're not coming back to you and saying, give me a handout. I bet you many of the people, particularly in the diaspora, who are building houses in Zimbabwe today, in the urban centers, it's because they know they cannot build that house in the rural areas. If they should fall out with the Zanu PF proxies in the village, they will be put under enormous pressure to leave that house. So the only place they can feel confident that they can still hang on to that house is in the urban centers. If people were given title deeds to the rural areas, it will make enormous, it will make, it's common sense that many people, instead of building the house in the urban centers, will build them in their rural home, because they will know that they don't have to worry about council rates. They can dig in their own well, make sure that they've got clean water. They can install their own solar panels to take care of their electrical needs. And when you have got a village with 2 or 3 houses, really good, high quality houses with clean water to drink from a borehole or from a deep well, the whole village would benefit. Their cattle can drink in the dam or the river, but the people can come and help themselves to clean water from a well. The standard of living of the whole village will improve. So it is unbelievable that Zanu PF is deliberately keeping 60 to 70% of the Zimbabwe population deliberately poor for its own political gains. And we, the majority of us Zimbabweans, are allowing that madness to continue. 44 years after independence, and rural people are being denied to the one thing they can own, property rights, and title deeds is the one thing that they can call their own. And it will mean so much to them. I think this outrage must be put right. I believe this is one of the issues that we should be talking about every day, every week, every month, and every year until this is put right. Zanu PF does not have to depend on making millions of Zimbabweans suffer for its own political gains. This must stop. This madness must stop. And it is a bad reflection on all of us, all Zimbabweans, wherever we are in the world, that this outrage, this modern day slavery, has continued now 44 years after independence in this day and age. Sickens me. It really does.